Clippers have the 30th pick, the last pick of the first round. The Lakers have the 17th pick. This would be their first selection in the first round in 5 years. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is dedicated to empowering our communities by providing progressive talk radio for our audience. We strive to be an intersectional voice for the voiceless. As a Black-owned and operated station, we are committed to highlighting diverse perspectives and creating safe spaces for meaningful dialogue. We believe that everyone has something unique to bring to these political, economic, social, and cultural conversations, and we don't shy away from the hard conversations about current events. We endeavor to be a beacon of hope and understanding, while boldly challenging listeners to think more deeply about difficult topics that impact us all. With this in mind, our mission statement at KBLA Talk 1580 is simple: to create an inclusive platform that promotes civil discourse through honest dialogue and encourages personal growth among our listeners, so they can become the active agents of change. Our vision is to establish ourselves as the premier radio network with relevant programming across the beloved community, connecting people through shared experiences and collective power for lasting impact beyond these challenging times.
That's where I became a man. My roots was down in New Orleans. The birth of jazz and the voodoo queen. From the heart of Louisiana, Marie Laveau and Mojo Hannah. I grew up on the music of the street.
The song is called Stomping Ground. As we continue our celebration of June as Black Music Month, I am pleased to be joined now by Grammy Award-winning singer, that sounds good, Miles, Ivan Neville, the son of the great Aaron Neville, who you hear on this track right here called, again, Stomping Ground. Fresh off the release of his first solo album in nearly 20 years, Ivan Neville has announced he's performing a special one-night concert at the Grammy Museum here in Los Angeles on Tuesday, June 27th, celebrating his incredible career and the release of his new album, Touch My Soul. He'll be joined by some friends, including New Orleans musician Eric Krasno. Ivan and Eric most recently took home a Grammy for this song, Stomping Ground, the best American roots performance. I am pleased to welcome, I know his father well, have been around his father many years, have had his father on this program. What an honor to welcome the son, Ivan Neville, to KBLA Talk 1580. Ivan, how are you today, sir?
I'm good, man. How about yourself, man?
Man, if I complained, I'd be an ingrate. I'm doing well. I love that track. I love that track, Stomping Ground, man, and there's so many voices on that track, but it's a beautiful rendition, a beautiful piece of work. So congratulations to you on winning the Grammy for that track. Tell me a bit more about it.
Yeah, that was put together. There's a film documentary style thing called "Take Me to the River," and we recorded a bunch of scenarios in recording studios, some live performances and stuff like that, and that came out of that project. And it was basically a lot of New Orleans artists collaborating with other people from other cities and other genres and things like that. And that's one of the tracks that we brought my dad, Aaron, and we recreated his song "Stomping Ground," which was on one of his records.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a group of us, including myself, Mr. Eric Krasno, George Porter Jr. from the Meters, and others. We put together that track. That was, that won the Grammy. That won the Grammy this past year. Yeah.
No, you are a Grammy winner now, and that will always be a part of your introduction. Yeah, a Grammy winner, Ivan Neville.
Oh, all right,
Let,
all right.
let me ask this question, and I'm sure you've been asked this in a variety of ways by others, but not by me. So let me frame it this way. Every one of us has to find our own voice. I'm thinking now of my dear friend. I miss him dearly. The great Al Jarreau. Who won Grammys in different categories in a way that nobody ever has, in jazz categories, in blues categories, in R&B categories. Al Jarreau was all that and then some. But in a conversation I had with Al many years ago, Al said to me, that's too many syllables there. Al said to me,
Right.
that every one of us, as surely as we have a thumbprint on our hand, this is Al Jarreau telling me this, as surely as we have a thumbprint on our hand that makes us uniquely different than anybody in the history of the world, dead, alive, or yet unborn, that thumbprint makes us uniquely different. Al said to me that he believes that each of us has a thumbprint on our throats. And the challenge for us is to find our own voice. I love that. We have a thumbprint on our hand and a thumbprint on our throats. Yeah. And each and every one of us during our lifetime has to find a way to find our voice. Now, many of us start out copying other people. Nothing wrong with that. You copy somebody else until you find your own voice. So the world is full of too many copies, still not enough originals. But you got to find your own voice. It seems to me that the challenge of doing that must be infinitely more difficult, finding your own voice, when your daddy is Aaron Neville. So talk to me about the journey for Ivan Neville to find his own voice.
Wow. So that's first of all, for you to even talk about Al Jarreau, and excuse my name, call me Alvin, because it's speaking of Al Jarreau, the great Al Jarreau. What an amazing talent he was. And I just thought of something. I saw him a long time ago, and as amazing as his voice was, I remember him. He actually smoked. He smoked.
That's right.
He was smoking like a Camel.
That's him.
He was smoking a Camel cigarette. I'm like, oh my God, Al Jarreau, he smoked Camel. All right. Anyway. So now back to the question about being Aaron's son. Now, what's unique? Okay, first of all, being from that family, my dad and my uncles, being the Nevilles, the Neville brothers. Obviously, it was a treat and an amazing time growing up. But the gift that I got, one of the initial gifts was I was the oldest son, the oldest of my siblings. Mm-hmm. I was born named after my dad. I was born named Aaron Neville. And as the world will soon find out, because he's got a book. Aaron Neville has a book that he finished that he just finished. I just got a pre-copy of it, by the way, just to change that. And it's called "Tell It Like It Is," and it's an amazing story of him, of his life. But he talks about me as a kid. I was born named Aaron, but my mom's folks didn't too much care for my dad at that time, so I was still maybe three months old or something. They changed my name to Ivan. So imagine if I would have had kept that name, that would have been some real pressure, right?
Yeah.
So I was able to grow up being Junior. I was still Junior. I was still little Aaron, but my name was Ivan. Mm-hmm. So I kind of had an advantage in a way, and I looked at it like that. So then coming up and knowing that he was the guy, and he's larger than life, he's got this voice, and I just always saw it as just a gift and a blessing that I was his son. And we kind of grew up together because he was only 18, 17 years old when I was born.
Right.
So so he was like my big brother. So I always looked at it as just total blessing that I get to learn from this cat and learn from my uncles and come up in and if I do what I'm supposed to do and I study and I apply myself a little bit with this music thing. I got a little bit of natural ability. Maybe I'll make my own mark, and maybe I'll have my own voice. And that's kind of what's transpired over the years.
Well, you have found it. You have found it, and now in your own right, you are a Grammy winner, as I said earlier. When your dad was last on this program, he told me that he was working on a book, and so I'm glad to know that he finished it. And what else would you call an Aaron Neville memoir except Tell It Like It Is, one of his biggest hits? I love the title. I can't wait to get my copy and to read the book, and can't wait to have your dad back on this program to talk about it. But we're talking not to the dad today, to the son, Grammy winner in his own right, Ivan Neville, right now on KBLA Talk 1580.
Face in Melbourne, Billy beat the world. Treacherous Slim, second line black. Big Chief Jolly, the Ratty Chin. Apache Red, Brother Jake, Stacker Lee, James Booker, Marvin and Johnny, off the mighty road. Horn Man, Jabby, Issaku, yeah.
We've got a lot to talk about. Good thing we've got 3 hours. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
Hey LA, keep your utility bills low this summer while making your home the cool place to be. LADWP can help you save hundreds with air conditioner and thermostat rebates, plus free energy efficient home upgrades and simple tips to help you beat the heat and save money. Visit ladwp.com/cool-LA.
Listen up, America. It's Ice-T. Throughout my life, I've learned a few things, like keeping your word and staying true to your friends. Loyalty is everything. That's why I got a lot of love for CarShield. Did you know when you have a plan through CarShield, your price never goes up, your coverage never goes down, no matter how many claims you have? That's loyalty. CarShield keeps their promise to customers, and that means everything to a guy like me. Which is why you gotta call CarShield today. My plan through CarShield covers the cost of repairs of up to 5,000 parts of my ride. I'm talking repairs on big ticket items like transmission, engines, electronics, and computers. Not a lot of people in this world really do what they say they'll do, but CarShield is the real deal. Call my guys at CarShield today. Tell them I sent you.
Call us for your free quick quote today. 800-306-8479. That's 800-306-8479. Again, 800-306-8479.
King C. Gillette is the modern man's answer to their facial hair. A complete set of precision tools and quality care products fit for your beard style. There's the King C. Gillette Beard Thickener that strengthens the facial hair you already have while increasing the volume of each strand for a noticeably thicker look. And with daily use, it maintains thickness with a lightweight fragrance with the King C. Gillette signature scent. Master your style with King C. Gillette.
Before new Cascade Platinum Plus, I would pre-rinse all my dishes because my old detergent just wouldn't get them clean. But now, I do dishes differently. And no pre-wash, no rewash, money-back guaranteed kind of different. Because Cascade Platinum Plus has double the grease-fighting power of Dawn built right in, with twice the scrubbing power, giving me a clean that lets me break all the dish rules. I just scrape, load, and I'm done. Yep. So clean. With Cascade Platinum Plus, I dare to dish differently.
You're listening to K-Drip, where we play all the best classic water-wasting hits like Watering Your Lawn During the Hottest Time of the Day and Leaky Faucets. They're tunes from another time because now that we face a hotter, drier future, every drop counts. Despite an extremely wet winter, keep using less water, fixing leaks, and reusing indoor water for your garden. Visit SaveOurWater.com for more ways to conserve. Up next, brushing your teeth with the water on. K-Drip.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate loses and love wins.
Ivan Neville is our guest in this half hour on Tavis Smiley. You're listening to KBLA Talk 1580. Our phone number, 1-800-920-1580. Ivan, tell me about this new project, Touch My Soul. Your people were kind enough to send me a private link so I could hear some of it. It sounds good to my ears, but tell me about Touch My Soul.
Yeah, it's a piece of music. I'm fortunate enough to have some time to reflect and, get into the creative process, which I hadn't done in quite a while for a solo record. Now, I have written songs over the years with my group Dumpster Funk and some other collaborations here and there. But this is the first, trek into a solo record for quite a while. And it was just a labor of love, pretty much. I mean, I had some time during a certain part of the pandemic where I had, I'm like all of us, I have sitting around, I'm like, maybe I'll make some music, maybe I'll write some songs. And it just kind of came naturally like that. I was able to put together, I think, a good little collection of songs, and they reflect, a lot of it reflects on, where I've gotten to at this point in life, and some of the things I've learned along the way, and some of the things I'd like to pass along to others, and some messaging and some stuff that I think may be good for the soul, and that's hence touch my soul. Like music has done for me my whole life.
Do you find it? Because every artist has a different approach. There's some artists who like to do the following, and others who do not do the following, and that is to be autobiographical in their songwriting. Is that? I mean, obviously, that's what "Touch My Soul" is, as you just described. Does that come easy or hard for you to be transparent in your lyrics and autobiographical?
It comes pretty naturally, and sometimes it's not even intentional. It's just by chance, and it's just the feeling, how I'm feeling at that time, and I'm in that creative mode, and sometimes personal stuff seeps its way into a song, and I'm cool with that. I'm absolutely cool with that.
When you mentioned a moment ago that you were in the pandemic, like all the rest of us, trying to figure out what we were going to do, how to make the most of this space and time that we had, that allowed us to not do much of anything. Frankly, couldn't leave the house. I was at an event. I was at an event the other night, and somebody said, whoever was on stage said, the MC or somebody said, "How about a round of applause for just being out of the house?" And the whole place just erupted. So people are still resonating and still reflecting on what it means in this moment to be out of the house. And the person said it, and the place just erupted with wild cheers and applause just for being out of the house. As you look back on that moment artistically, how do you think you did making the most of it?
I think I did pretty well, and especially I came out. I actually had COVID. I caught the early version of COVID in 2020. So I had it, and I had a pretty serious bout with it.
Yeah.
And getting through that, that just put me in a place of total gratitude. Getting through that, so that I was ready to absorb anything positive that was coming my way.
Yeah.
So I absolutely made the best of it after that. To me, it was like everything else was gravy. Because you know what I'm saying. So going through it, obviously it was difficult, and you had to figure out ways to occupy your mind and not get too much on the TV and too much into social media. Had to take that in doses and not get too hung up on one thing. But it was pretty interesting. I did some live streaming performances at my house, which were very satisfying, and it helped me get through some times. But getting into the creative process, it just evolved naturally, and especially going through all that made me just that much more grateful to be able to do it. So it basically brought up a bunch of a lot of reasons to be to realize that how blessed we are and how grateful that I'm going to express more gratitude about it than anything else. Nope. We made it through, and I know we have that what's called, I guess, that pandemic fatigue. So, like my man said at the concert you were at, we just glad to be out. Some of us still don't know how to act when we get out the house. So.
No, I take your point about gratitude. I take that point to heart about gratitude. I say all the time that gratitude is the gateway to greatness. Gratitude is the gateway to great. If you want to be great, you got to start, first of all, in a place of gratitude. That's why I'm always every day grateful. That's why you hear me say all the time, if I complained, I'd be an ingrate. I want to live in a space of gratitude on my way to greatness, and so that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Back to your point about having COVID, though, Ivan. I had Smokey Robinson on here not long ago. He's been on a number of times, but Smokey was on not long ago and was telling the story of his having caught the COVID virus and how it almost killed him. He was in the hospital for days. They kept the story pretty quiet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they kept it quiet.
Oh, wow.
Thankfully, he got through, and he's back on stage, of course, sounding as good as ever. But like you, he caught that thing early on. And early on, people were dying from this COVID thing. They would, obviously, we all recall that.
Yeah.
Lost thousands and thousands of Americans early on when you caught it. Did you ever have, you said you had a really, really bad case of it. Were you wrestling at any point with your own mortality while you were that sick?
I definitely had some thoughts, and I was definitely, I was scared at times. And now, the advice I was getting from doctors I was talking to, nobody really knew anything about this thing.
Right. So
luckily, but I found out that I had pneumonia. I had double pneumonia, both lungs, and that was a condition that caused by the COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And so I needed oxygen. So instead, I was fortunate. Someone I knew connected me with someone that got me an oxygen machine delivered to my house.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of the people had to go to hospitals and go and get on ventilators and things like that. A lot of them did not make it.
Yeah.
And I was told, don't lay there on your back because you got pneumonia. And pneumonia loves you to just sit there and it'll just settle in your lungs and that'll kill you.
Oh, yeah.
So I had an oxygen machine, which I utilized, and I was also laying on my side. And then when I was able, I started taking walks, and I started doing breathing exercises because I was also told that you got to teach your lungs how to fight out of this.
Mm-hmm.
So I was training my lungs to do what they knew how to do, but kind of, I didn't. I was lucky. I was absolutely fortunate that I didn't have to go any further than that. It lasted about 6 weeks total.
Wow.
6 weeks. It was a 6-week battle, yes.
What's it like, Ivan, when you are battling something for 6 weeks and you were having thoughts, not just about, your own mortality, but about whether or not you will ever be able to do what you were born to do? You can't sing with 2 lungs full of fluid.
Yes. And you know what? Yeah, I had thoughts. Definitely, my mortality came into focus, and I was pretty devastated and scared about it. But check this out: the boss lady of this house. You know what she told me when I was not on the breathing machine? I mean, on the oxygen machine.
Yeah.
Things like that. She told me. So I said, "Yeah, Ivan. So when we don't know when the next time you're going to be working, so you need to start doing some live streaming because people have started doing the live streaming from their homes and from their studios and whatnot." So she said, "You better start getting some income going out here. I mean, you sick." She said, "You sick, but you better start doing some of the live streaming and set up your Venmo account." That's what she told me to do. I was feeling like crap. But I had to go in there and do a little 45-minute to an hour set, live stream. But what I found out, that was helping me exercise my lungs.
Yeah.
So I was worn out by the time I finished doing one of those, and I did probably 6 or 7 of them.
Right.
But the boss lady told me you better do something. Lay your behind back there. You confined to the back room, but maybe once a week you come and go in that other room where that piano at. We're gonna put you on live stream.
No, when the boss lady speaks, you ain't got no choice but to respond, man. And so
nothing I can do. But singing helped my. I talked to some doctors, and they said, you know what, you probably maybe help save yourself by doing exercising your lungs.
Yeah.
And eventually that corona thing went away, and I was able to sing like I used to, and I'm, once again, I'm blessed.
Yeah.
But the boss lady made me get in there and do that, boy.
I'm just laughing, man. She's like, "Baby, I know you're sick, but that Venmo account is getting kind of dry.
You better get on that.
You better get on that. Yeah, I love it. I got 3 minutes left here, and I could do this for an hour, but I gotta move now to talk about your special one-night concert. at the Grammy Museum here in Los Angeles. This program, of course, is heard across the nation, but flagshipped in L.A., and it is oftentimes the case that when people are coming to L.A., they look us up. And lucky for those who live in Southern California or those who be here on Tuesday, June 27th, because you could have a chance to see Ivan Neville live one night only at the Grammy Museum. It's a great venue. Have you played there before, Ivan? You're gonna love the venue if you haven't been there before.
I've never been there. I look forward to it.
It's an amazing venue. I think the last time I was there, I saw my friend James Taylor. And it's just an amazing, amazing venue. And James sounded great, and you're going to sound great. It's an amazing venue. It's Tuesday, June 27th, and he'll be joined by New Orleans musician Eric Krasno, mentioned earlier in this hour. They'll be on the museum's rooftop terrace. That's a great show. You're on the rooftop terrace, and you're hearing the sounds of Ivan Neville. You looking forward to this, Ivan, I assume?
Absolutely, man. Can't wait.
Yeah. Have you figured out how do you do it these days? Have you figured out your playlist, or you do that kind of spur of the moment, the last minute, whatever you feel?
I have an idea right now. I've already put a little set list together that I'm gonna work from, and I think there's a gentleman by the name of Steve Hockman, who's a journalist. I think he used to write for the LA Times back in the days. And he's around. He's going to do like some sort of a Q&A.
Oh, cool.
In this format where he may ask me some questions. It may be like an interview of some kind where I may tell, he might ask me some questions about some personal stuff. Who knows?
Yeah.
And that's going to be part of the show as well, which is kind of cool.
No, that's part of that's part of what they do at the Grammy Museum, which is great. They don't just let artists perform. More often than not, they engage in some brief conversation with the artist, and that's always great for the fans who get a chance to hear you talk. In addition to you do your music. So it's going to be a great night, June 27th, at the Grammy Museum here in Los Angeles, celebrating the incredible career of Ivan Neville and the release of his new album, Touch My Soul. Ivan, when you talk to your dad, tell him Tavis said hello, I send my love, and tell him I look forward to him coming back on and talk about that book when it drops, man.
Yes, indeed, man. I will.
All right, Ivan, stay strong.
Thanks for having me.
All right, brother. Safe travels to Los Angeles. The last half hour of Tavis Smiley for today when we come forward after news, traffic, and sports on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580 is an intervention. When we come forward, includes you. KBLA Talk 1580, turning pain into power.
Welcome to a Thursday, everyone. It is June 22nd. I'm Mike Moore. Now, here's the latest from the Black Information Network. In Texas, at least 4 people are dead after a tornado ripped through a tiny North Texas town Wednesday night. A tornado warning went out in Matador, Texas around 8 p.m. In addition to the loss of life, the twister left around a dozen buildings damaged. In New York City, Mayor Eric Adams remains tight-lipped on who could possibly replace outgoing NYPD Commissioner, African-American Keyshawn Sewell. The first female police commissioner announced her abrupt departure last week, but didn't give a reason as to why she's leaving. Adams says right now he has a police commissioner that he likes, and she is still running the department until she's out the door. And that's the latest. I'm Mike Moore from your 24/7 news source, the Black Information Network and BINnews.com.
Ready to take control of your phone plan? Well, then you better take that next turn to a Verizon store. Because my plan from Verizon is the kind of control we all deserve. Get exactly what you want. Only pay for what you need. Get my plan at your Verizon store today.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Get used to saying this name and hearing it a lot. Victor Wembanyama. He's a 7'4", 19-year-old phenom from France, and he'll be the number 1 pick in tonight's NBA draft. Wembanyama will be drafted by the San Antonio Spurs, who won the number 1 pick in last month's draft lottery. Wembanyama has the ball handling skills of a guard, can shoot the 3 and block shots. He's the most celebrated rookie to come into the NBA since LeBron was the number 1 pick out of high school in 2003. Draft coverage begins at 5 p.m. on ABC and ESPN. No lottery action for the Lakers or Clippers tonight. The Clippers have the 30th pick, the last pick of the first round. The Lakers have the 17th pick. This will be their first selection in the first round in 5 years. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
You're listening to K-Trip, where we play all the best classic water-wasting hits like Watering Your Lawn During the Hottest Time of the Day and Leaky Faucets. They're tunes from another time because now that we face a hotter, drier future, every drop counts. Despite an extremely wet winter, keep using less water, fixing leaks, and reusing indoor water for your garden. Visit SaveOurWater.com for more ways to conserve. Up next, brushing your teeth with the water on. K-Trip.
If you're a business owner or lead a nonprofit that's between 26 and 49 employees, please listen. Lendistry is proud to announce a new program whereby small businesses and nonprofits may qualify for reimbursement of COVID sick leave expenses incurred in 2021 or 2022. This program is administered by the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. Eligibility criteria apply and funding is limited. For more information, visit covidpaidsick.com. If you're a business owner or lead a nonprofit that has between 26 and 49 employees, please listen. Lendistry is proud to announce a new program whereby small businesses and nonprofits may qualify for reimbursement of COVID sick leave expenses incurred in 2021 or 2022. This program is administered by the California Office of the Small Business Advocate. For more information, visit covidpaidsick.com.
Follow the leader. KBLA Talk 1580. Follow the leader.
If you're not following KBLA Talk 1580 on all of our socials, then you're missing out. Download our app and find us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, and on the web at KBLA 1580.
That's right.
Again, you can find all of our socials at KBLA 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about.
By the way, if you miss any of our weekday shows in real time, you can always catch up by checking out the podcast of your favorite shows at your leisure. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Got your black. Follow the leader. Oh my God. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader. Follow the leader.
Are you looking to steer your career in a new direction? Driving for Culver City Bus can be your ticket to a long-lasting career with excellent benefits and paid training. Culver City Bus is looking for customer service and safety-minded bus operators to join the growing team. Culver City Bus offers on-the-job training starting at $19.10 per hour, uniform allowance, and health benefits. Culver City Bus is a great employer. Let Culver City Bus connect you with an essential service job. If you enjoy driving, seek real opportunities for career advancement, and passionate about making a difference in the community, then you are invited to join the Culver City Bus team. Start your journey today by submitting an application at culvercity.org/job. For more info, visit culvercitybus.com or call live customer service operators at 310-253-6500.
Find a righteous rage and don't be afraid to say what you see. We're KBLA Talk 1580.
That's the Queen of Soul, Aretha Franklin, on KBLA Talk 1580. Nobody like the Queen. We've been celebrating her, playing her music all 3 hours of today's program, as we do every day during the month of June. Black Music Month. We pick a different artist and we play some of the best of their stuff all 3 hours of this program. And what a great honor today to hear the sounds of Aretha Franklin on KBLA Talk 1580. But we are a talk station, and so let the talk resume. In this hour, I'm pleased to welcome to the studio actor, producer, screenwriter, and director Javon Johnson. He's been in so many different things. I ain't got time to run the list of all the things he's appeared in. But if you turn on the live stream, you'll recognize his face on the app or on our YouTube channel. You'll recognize the face. Been in so many different things, but I'm honored to have him in studio for the rest of this hour. Javon Johnson, good to see you, brother. How are you?
Hey, man, it's good to be seen, as they say.
Yeah, exactly. Better to be seen than to be viewed.
Absolutely.
as they say.
Happy to be here.
Let me start with it. I want to start at what might be a strange and awkward place, and forgive me if I'm pressing too hard, and if I am, tell me and I'll back up. But I happen to know from some friends of mine that you were a good friend of Chadwick Boseman.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I had the chance to interview Chadwick a number of times. Can't say he and I ever hung out a lot, but he, whenever he was doing a film project, would always come through and see me on my TV show, my radio show, and so we got to know each other, fairly well just by the time we spent in studio or on the stage, and just a wonderful guy.
Yes.
But I obviously did not know him the way that you knew him, and I thought I would just ask, if you don't mind, just kind of offering some thoughts and reflections on Chadwick Boseman and your friendship with him. And I'll just say this: I love the way that in death, gone too soon, but I love the way he is being regarded. I love the way he's being respected, the way he's being honored. It's pretty clear to me that for years to come, they'll be talking about the work of Chadwick Boseman because so many people clearly loved him. His body of work at such a young age was so you're envious of it, right? Just what he did in so just a few short years, essentially. But again, I'm just saying I'm heartened by the way that people are remembering Chadwick and will into the future. But that's just me. He was your friend. Talk to me about Chadwick Boseman.
Yeah, I think that how people remember him is how he lived his life. I mean, he really didn't have a choice. Mm-hmm. He created that. You know what I mean? And the goodness that you put in the world is the goodness that you get back. Mm-hmm. And Chadwick moved in that way. I think he's one of the greatest people I've ever had the privilege of being intimately involved with. In a part of his journey, because I got to see the journey. Chadwick and I are from the same hometown in Anderson, South Carolina. Mm-hmm. There's nothing there. I mean, as young black boys, we didn't talk about this. This wasn't part of the vernacular. Yeah. When we talked about what we're going to do when we grow up, we weren't talking about being in movies. That was seemed like an intangible thing on the TV. It was like a unreachable world. Mm-hmm. Seeing a local celebrity to us was the local news anchor. He come to the school. It's like, oh, we just saw celebrities get autographs, right? Yeah. Not till you get older you realize, oh, that was just a local celebrity. I mean, this local newscaster. Mm-hmm. But Chadwick and I didn't develop a relationship in our hometown because he was 3 or 4 years younger than me. Mm-hmm. So, I always say he was a scrub. Mm-hmm. Then he didn't deal with the scrubs. Mm-hmm. I dealt with his older relatives. Mm-hmm. It wasn't until graduate school at University of Pittsburgh I linked up with Derek Sander, who was a Howard graduate, and we were talking about starting a theater company in Chicago, which is 20 years running now, African-American theater company called Concord Square Theater Company. And he said to me, I only know one other guy from Anderson, South Carolina. And I said to him, get out of here, because he's from Virginia. And it's like, I don't know anybody from Anderson. I don't know anybody from Anderson here. He was like, no, you got to meet him, man. I'm going to take you to Howard. You got to meet this guy from Anderson. I had no idea who he was talking about. Mm-hmm. So we get on campus. I think Chadwick was in his sophomore year at Howard at the time. And I walk into this dorm room, and I see Chadwick. He sees me. He was like, what? And we had no idea that either of us were on course for being in this industry. Mm-hmm. And that began... the depth of our relationship began there. And over the years, a lot of people don't know that Chadwick's passion was really as a director. Mm-hmm. That's really why he came to L.A. Mm-hmm. The acting took off, for him, which was great and amazing. But his vision was as a storyteller and as a writer. He has plays out there. I performed in his plays. He's performed in my plays. Mm-hmm. We directed each other. The last piece of work cinematically, to my knowledge, that Chadwick directed was my short film called Heaven, which I originally wrote for him to star in. Mm-hmm. But again, he was like, I want to direct it. And we argued about it for a while. Mm-hmm. He said, no, I want to direct this. And I said, okay, all right, you could direct it. We shot it in L.A. And that may be the last piece of cinema that Chadwick directed.
As I listen to you talk now, Javon, it seems fair to me to say that had he lived, we would have seen him do a lot more directing.
The thing, other than just him leaving us so soon, what disheartens me is the side of him that I know the world will never see. Mm-hmm. And the penmanship, the vision, what he had to say. He had some profound things to say, not just about people of color, but just about humanity. Chadwick was a deep individual, highly educated, resourceful person. He was rooted in something greater than what we got to witness. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like, man, if the world could have just seen that, we missed that part,
Before we get to your body of work, one final question about your friend Chadwick Boseman. I gave you my assessment, but what is your assessment as his friend of the body of work that he left us?
You know what? You can't. His body of work surpasses some careers 40 years in the game. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? It's unspeakable what he was able to accomplish in the short amount of time that he did it. And I remember having a conversation when I came out to the memorial in L.A. with his team, and I said, wow, the career that Chadwick had logically should not have happened. Mm-hmm. And what I mean by that, to have that kind of control over the decisions you make and to have them come into fruition at the level that he did for and being an artist of color, it's unfathomable that you can navigate your career in that way in the short period of time. Some people have to work decades to get to a place where they can make, certain decisions and stand on those decisions and make them happen. Yeah. He was doing them back to back to back to back. Yeah. And that blows my mind.
How do you think that being from Anniston, Alabama,
South Carolina. I'm sorry,
South Carolina. I'm thinking of that old adage: can anything good come out of Anniston, South Carolina? Can anything good come out of there? How do you think Anniston informed your work and Chadwick's work?
I think, man, just being from the South, being humbled. It's humble beginnings and rooted in the church, rooted in family. There's a lot of traditional ideas of family and lifestyle there that when you elevate to another level, it's kind of hard to detach from, man, I came from this. And when I talk to my mom on the phone, I hear this. She takes me back.
Keeps you humble.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
She takes me back to the front yard where, I tell people all the time, I'm that guy that was going to fish in the pond we cut our own canes to go make our own fishing poles. And I say, Mama, there's some poke salad on the side of the road. She's pull over, we got a little bag. We go out there in the field, pick poke salad, and then we go into the fishing pond. I clean fish in the backyard. You know what I mean? I come from that. You know what I mean? Chadwick comes from that. Yeah. So that kind of being rooted in that kind of just being grounded. Yeah. Being grounded. I think they carried them over.
One of my friends told me years ago that your roots determine your roots.
Absolutely.
Your ROOTS.
Yes.
Determine your ROUTES.
Yes.
Your roots determine your roots or your routes if you prefer. Right. But you take my point. Right. Our guest is Javon Johnson. We'll talk about his body of work now that we celebrated one Chadwick Boseman when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
Be sure to like and follow Tavis Smiley at The Real Tavis Smiley and get Twitter updates at Tavis Smiley. The conversation continues when we come forward. We've got a lot to talk about.
I'm Reverend Gerald, the life coach. Is someone you love struggling with addiction and mental illness? Is improving your family's health important? Want to leave a legacy that your family can grow? Are you ready to enhance your perception of life experiences? Then wake up weekends at 7 a.m. with Urban Family Focus and get the wisdom, opportunity, resources, and motivation to live your best life. Join the conversation on Urban Family Focus Saturday and Sunday at 7 a.m.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black.
The pandemic may be over, but many Angelinos could be at risk of losing the place they call home. It's important to know your rights as a residential renter in the city of LA. Did you know eviction protection still exists for unpaid COVID-19 rental debt that was due before March 31st, 2023? And that you have 5 days to respond to an eviction notice, also known as an unlawful detainer. Learn more about your rental rights at housing.lacity.org. Be informed, be protected, be at home.
If your Medi-Cal is ending, Cover California is here to help. Cover California is a service from the state that helps you get affordable health insurance. In many cases, at no cost to you, just like with Medi-Cal. We have quality health plans and will help you every step of the way to get the one that works for you and your family. So, if you're no longer eligible for Medi-Cal, check out Cover California. We'll keep you covered. Learn more at coveredca.com.
Hey, Dad, how do airplanes fly? What's in this box? Is this tree good for climbing? How are babies made? What does this thing do?
Kids are curious about everything, including guns. Talking to them about gun safety in your home is a good first step, but you can do more. Always keep your guns locked, unloaded, and stored separately from ammunition. Safe gun storage saves lives. Learn how to make your home safer at endfamilyfire.org. That's endfamilyfire.org. Brought to you by End Family Fire, Brady, and the Ad Council.
Interrogating your assumptions and expanding your inventory of ideas. Let's get back to Tavis Smiley on KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm just being told now that they found that sub. For those who've been following this story, you're probably ahead of me. I've been so deep in these conversations, but that sub that has been leading the news for the last few days has been found as debris, and so that is that's not good news. But I know many were hopeful that they would find that sub underwater. We kept hearing reports every couple hours about how many hours of oxygen they had left inside that sub. But being told now that they have found the sub as debris, what they believe to be the sub as debris. And I'm sure the story will be developing. But that story did not end quite the way that many people hoped and prayed it would end. But that's the latest on that story that we've all been hearing about. Our guest in this hour is Javon Johnson. He is an actor, producer, screenwriter, and director. We were talking moments ago about his friendship with Chadwick Boseman, the late great Chadwick Boseman, and given that both of them are from Anniston, South Carolina. I said Alabama, and Javon just learned something. He now knows there is an Anniston, Alabama as well. So there's an Anniston, South Carolina, and Anniston, Alabama. I know Anniston, Alabama. I went through there one time, and so I just slipped up and said Alabama when I meant to say South Carolina. But there are two Annistons, one in Alabama, one in South Carolina. I know that, and so too does our guest Javon Johnson. Now, to your body of work. How have you, out of Anniston, South Carolina, navigated your way through this maze of a business for all black people, but especially for African American men?
At the end of the day, man, it may sound a little cliche out there a little bit, but it's been a faith walk. Mm-hmm. This is not. I didn't come from a community where parents sat down and talked about how to be an artist. They even know the industry. It wasn't. I didn't come from a family that had a lot of degrees in higher education. It was the most industrial, automotive industry, that type of work. So to be sitting here, it was not. I'm not that brilliant as a person to figure that out. You know what I'm saying? The only thing I did was I believed that I did not get in the way, and I just stayed the course. And I felt like I was being led somewhere, and without knowing specifically what the destination was, I said I'm just not going to get in the way. So even going to college, I went to HBCU at South Carolina State University, not because I wanted to, that was because I was walking through the hallway my senior year, and the choir director stopped me and said, "You're going to go to college." And I said, "What do you mean? I'm not going to go to college. I wasn't thinking about going to college." Mm-hmm. And she said, "I'm going to get you a scholarship in the music department." I don't sing in the choir. She wanted me on a choir scholarship. That's not my gift. Mm-hmm. I guess it didn't matter because I went to South Carolina State University on a choir scholarship, and the choir scholarship there was highly reputable. They had there was a really good choir and well known, and I'm singing with these singers who can sing, and I'm feeling like one of these things don't look like the other. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? But there was a big theater, the Henderson Davis Theater on campus, and every day I walked by that theater and something was speaking to me. And at some point I said, you know what? Let me go in there. Yeah. And long story short, switched my major over, got the scholarship, switched over to theater, and became the theater president. And
later in your life started your own theater company.
And then started my own theater company, with 9 other graduates at the time, coming from, most of us, I think, all came from HBCUs. We went to the city of Chicago and said, we have the talent, we have the training. Do we want to get in line? Do we want to knock on the doors? I'll tell you a quick story, right? Steppenwolf Theater Company, which is a really
know it well.
Yes,
legendary.
Yes. John Malkovich, Gary Sinise, all those guys coming out there. I was my roommate and I, Derek Sanders, who was also the artistic director, founding artistic director of Congo Square Theater Company. We visited city of Chicago while in undergrad. 2 black boys. We go to Steppenwolf. We don't know any better. We walk in and we say, we want to speak to the artistic director, Martha Levy, at the time. And really, we joke about this because I remember walking down the hall, I saw all these pictures of ensemble members, and I was like, oh, all of them are white. It was one, K. Todd Freeman, one black guy. And I was like, oh, but the rest of them are all white. And here go 2 black boys walking in here off the street saying, hey, we want to speak to the artistic director. Obviously, he shut the door and said, no, we didn't get to speak to her. Yeah. We started this theater company under the premise that we didn't have to get in line because we had something to offer the city of Chicago. So let's start our own company. Let's put our own talents on display and let the city come to us. Yeah. To bring that full circle, about 3 or 4 years into the company, Steppenwolf Theater called us. And we ended up being the first African-American company to do a co-pro main stage production in Steppenwolf history. And that was the goal. And August Wilson was one of our biggest individual donors annually. And our inaugural production was The Piano Lesson, which I picked up August Wilson's downtown Chicago to come to the theater to see that show.
Somebody said, "Won't he do it?"
Oh, well, he'll do it if you obey.
Exactly.
If you're obedient.
No. When we come forward, I want to come back to that story right quick about August Wilson. You're listening to Javon Johnson on KBLA Talk 1580.
A safe place to go loud. A great place for progressive politics. KBLA Talk 1580. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Maisha Cairo here with a quick recap from my time at JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. There were speakers Ian Dunlap, Damon John, Lynn Richardson, MC Light, Don Kennedy, to name a few. Take a listen to what Justin Grant, Community Development Lead at Chase's Advancing Black Pathway, let's see what he had to say.
So I'm Justin Grant. I lead community development and national partnerships for JP Morgan Chase's Advancing Black Pathway strategy. And so we're focused on strengthening the economic foundation of black communities, and we're making targeted investments in programs like the Advancing Black Wealth Tour to help us get our tools and resources out to the community to drive sustained impact over time.
So when it comes to black and brown people, it sounds like Chase is making it their personal responsibility not only to facilitate these events, but to educate and provide resources. So Mr. Grant, I have to ask, what does wealth building look like for the individual?
It's home ownership, it's having that freedom to be able to start your own business and create jobs in your community, and it's having that long-term plan towards retirement, having that vision for what you want your life to be, and you have the resources to actually live it.
I'm Maisha Cairo. Thanks for sticking around. That was my recap from Chase's Advancing Black Wealth Tour. First stop was here in LA, and they're taking it national.
Mom's early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
And when I left the oven on, we decided together that it was time to see a doctor and make a plan.
Early detection gave us more time to seek out information and support as a family.
If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. For more information, visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
You're listening to K-Drip, where we play all the best classic water-wasting hits like Sprinklers in the Rain and Leaky Faucets. They're tunes from another time because now that we face a hotter, drier future, every drop counts. Despite an extremely wet winter, keep using less water, fixing leaks, and reusing indoor water for your garden. Visit SaveOurWater.com for more ways to conserve. Up next, brushing your teeth with the water on.
K-Drip. Let's unpack a little bit more with Tavis Smiley. The conversation continues right now.
He has done a lot of work with Tyler Perry. You recognize him and know him from The Oval. Tyler Perry's Daddy's Little Girls, Barbershop 2, all kind of things he's appeared in. has a new project coming out next year called Once in a Valentine. So he's a busy guy. I mentioned he has worked with Tyler Perry, but I'm fascinated by meeting August Wilson.
Let me tell you how I first met August Wilson. I first met August Wilson. I told August about this when I was an undergrad at South Carolina State University, my sophomore year. My first professional theater job was Fences. I played Corey at Hilton Head Playhouse. I didn't know anything about August Wilson coming from Anderson, South Carolina. We didn't study August Wilson. After doing that play, my perspective about being black in America changed. And I always say I met August Wilson before I met August Wilson, because that's the profound effect his work had on me as a young black man from Anderson, South Carolina, which blew my mind. I would then later start writing, and then the writing came to me in a very organic way. I was hearing voices and stories in my head. I never talked to anybody because I was like, black folks gonna think you crazy, so I kept it to myself. And I met August Wilson for the first time at the Edward Albee Theater Conference in Valdez, Alaska. And I spoke with him. I said, listen, I stopped writing because I had an experience when I was in Pittsburgh. I was writing, and I went somewhere, and I literally turned around in my apartment and thought August was standing behind me. That's how visceral the moment was. And I stopped writing at that point because I felt like his influence on me was too strong, and I didn't know who I was as a writer. And I told him this, and he said, listen, young man, he said, we live in a society where we identify things what's new with something that already is there. So we have labels that we identify what's coming behind it. He said, tell your story. Yeah. And when he told me that began my process to find my own voice, and which included his influence. But then I began to mature as an artist because he gave me that permission to be free and honest in the work.
That's a powerful story and a great place to close. We were talking earlier in this hour about finding your own voice. I was talking to Ivan Neville about what Al Jarreau told me, that we have a thumbprint on our hands, but also a thumbprint on our throats. And each and every one of us has to find our voice.
Absolutely.
And the fact that August helped you find your voice is a powerful thing. I got about 45 seconds left here. I assume you're working on probably 18 different things at once. You want to mention a couple of them that you're working on? Yeah,
we got the feature film, as you mentioned, Once in the Valentine coming out. Always stay ready for Tyler Perry's The Oval. Hopefully we'll be back soon with that as well. I'm a teacher. I'm constantly
still teaching.
I'm teaching constantly in the Atlanta area, and also I have a school, Barefoot Conservatory in South Carolina, Spartanburg, South Carolina. So if you're in the Atlanta market, Southeast market, you're looking to train either as an actor, writer. I teach screenwriters as well. So I do that constantly, trying to help people develop and pursue their dreams as well.
Well, August helped you. You help them.
Absolutely.
We pay it forward.
Yes, sir.
We pass it along. His name is Javon Johnson, actor, producer, screenwriter, director, and good brother from South Carolina. That's our show for today. Time now to make room for the KBLA Midday Money Chain. Up next, the Millionaires Roundtable with Lynn Richardson, to be followed by Ahead of the Crypto Curve with Naja Roberts. Old money, new money. Either way, we got you covered here on KBLA Talk 1580. Tomorrow, the best of Tavis Smiley. Until then, thanks for tuning in. And as always, keep the faith.
Now, Kitty, you know when we talk, we have a lot of fun, don't we, girl? Dishing out the dirt.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
Welcome to a Thursday, everyone. It is June 22nd. I'm Mike Moore. Now, here's the latest from the Black Information Network. In Texas, at least 4 people are dead after a tornado ripped through a tiny North Texas town Wednesday night. A tornado warning went out in Matador, Texas around 8 p.m. In addition to the loss of life, the twister left around a dozen buildings damaged. In New York City, Mayor Eric Adams remains tight-lipped on who could possibly replace outgoing NYPD Commissioner, African-American Keyshawn Sewell. The first female police commissioner announced her abrupt departure last week, but didn't give a reason as to why she's leaving. Adams says right now he has